SpaceX plans to launch 5 Starships in the next 2 years. President Donald Trump says he met with 4 US Air Force pilots who had seen flying saucers that flew 4 times the speed of F-22s. Astronomers from the James Webb Space Telescope say they've stumbled onto possible signs of life coming from a massive exoplanet. Illuminati manipulates humanity by advanced psychic abilities and tablets of destiny, according to Translator. Representative Nancy Mace says that the next UFO hearing has been scheduled for November 13th in a subcommittee she chairs for the US Congress's House Oversight Committee. These stories and more on Exopolitics Today, the Week in Review.
You're listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla, your source for the uncensored truth regarding the human, extraterrestrial, global, and political agenda. Click the like button and subscribe to this channel. And now, here's Dr. Michael Salla.
Welcome to the September 28 edition of Exopolitics Today, the Week in Review. I am shooting this update from Denver or Westminster, Colorado, where I am attending the Galactic Spiritual Informers Connection Conference, which is a sold-out conference. We've got close to 1,100 people. It's a fantastic event, and I will be doing some more interviews here, and hopefully we'll be able to release those in the next few weeks, so keep posted. There is still the possibility for those of you who would like to see the live stream, you can just go over to galacticspiritualinformersconnection.com. Here is the latest edition, or the latest addition to the US Army Insider Missions series. This is book 3. It made it to the #1 new release in UFOs for a brief time on Amazon. So thanks to those who bought this book. It really does nicely complement the earlier 2 books, and so I actually will be on stage here at the Galactic Spiritual Informers Connection with JP. So that's a maybe added incentive for those of you that couldn't attend and maybe want to watch the live stream. In this interview with Jalila Starr, we discussed the perils of full ET disclosure in terms of previous human experiments. So this interview I titled Navigating the Skylar and Charybdis of Full ET Disclosure, because according to Jalila Starr, there have been both extremes of not enough disclosure and too much disclosure that has happened in previous grand experiments in the Lyran subsystem, in the Lyran star system, and in the Pleiadian star system. And the Earth, we, according to the information she has received from her sources, we are the 3rd in a series of grand experiments, and that we have to ensure that there is the right balance of disclosure. Too much can lead to catastrophe, as can too little. So fascinating insights there by the Niburians that Jalila Starr communicates with. Elon Musk, he has come up with an ambitious agenda to send launch 5 uncrewed starships to Mars in 2 years. So obviously this is his attempt to start laying the foundations for crewed missions to Mars, where those crews could go to the sites where the uncrewed missions landed with various supplies and so forth, so you could actually start the development of the first human colonies on Mars. So it is, according to Musk, it is humanity's first initiative to establish bases on Mars. Now, clearly those that have been following my research know that there have been many whistleblowers, many contactees who have talked about Mars already having bases from secret space programs and by different extraterrestrial civilizations. So I think Musk's ambitious goal here, using conventional reusable rockets, even though it isn't based on the kind of advanced free energy and anti-gravity principles that we know are being used in classified secret space programs, it's a positive development nevertheless, because it helps build momentum for white worlding of a lot of classified technology used in secret space programs. And also it creates the pressure for the release of 6,000 suppressed patents dealing with over unity, anti-gravity, new healing technologies, and much more. So I think this initiative by Musk is definitely a step in the right direction. Certainly doesn't go far enough, but we need to acknowledge that for those that are still locked into a conventional paradigm, these kinds of small steps really do open up their minds to some of the larger issues that we've been discussing. Here is Donald Trump admitting in an interview that he actually met with 4 US Air Force pilots who revealed that they'd seen flying saucer craft that traveled 4 times faster than F-22s. So what we have in this admission by Donald Trump is that he did have 4 US Air Force pilots describe to him what they had seen. And so you have to ask yourself, well, why is Donald Trump relying on military pilots to tell him about UFOs? And I think this is a clue that, like President John F. Kennedy, Trump was out of the loop. He was shut down or shut out by the CIA, by those who control the secrecy files, so that he would not know, because they deemed him a security threat in that he would probably have released a lot of these documents. So this, I think, is a very important admission by Trump. It gives us an insight into the kind of pressures he's working with in terms of releasing disclosure. Here's a video extract where Luis Elizondo explains how President Trump's interest in military witnesses of UFOs helped bring about an official change in attitudes during Trump's administration. So let me just play that video clip for you now. It's quite short, so let's listen to it.
My father was one of the first elected officials to ever publicly take this topic seriously. And there's a lot of men and women in uniform right now that are very, very grateful for him being courageous and taking the first step. Look, I got to tell you, he's going to be remembered in history very favorably for that alone. He was the first one to actually champion this cause.
Well, there you go. So Donald Trump did actually achieve a very positive thing in starting to have whistleblowers come forward and give him briefings. And apparently that, as Elizondo suggests, led to a sea change in official attitudes. So very good to know that this really did happen during his administration. And if he does win the presidency, we can expect him to continue to express a desire to learn the truth about UFOs. Okay, so here's a development. Well, let me go to this previous tweet. This is a Hill article that cites astronomers from the James Webb Space Telescope who, quote, say they have stumbled onto possible signs of life coming from a massive Earth-like exoplanet, NASA confirmed in a press release. So this is what NASA has admitted, that it's found a massive exoplanet that may be displaying signs of life, and that there is a process here to confirm whether that discovery is accurate. They do a second round of analysis or readings of the transit of these exoplanets around distant suns using the James Webb. So they don't just rely on one set of data coming from a transit of an exoplanet. They wait for at least a second transit before they make some kind of definitive finding as to what's going on. Now, what I found very interesting here is that Dr. John Brandenburg's made an X-post. So there's his post there. And he refers to rumors of a classified briefing to the US Congress on the discovery of ET life. So this is something that has been predicted by, especially in the British media, the various British scientists have said that the first step in an official disclosure process will be announcing the discovery of some kind of microbes on a distant planet. And so this does seem to be what we are witnessing now with the James Webb Space Telescope findings being leading to briefings in the US Congress. Okay, so here's another follow-on on that particular revelation by John Brandenburg, that this supports the idea that Congress is receiving briefings from astronomers associated with the James Webb Space Telescope or from NASA that suggests something has happened recently, and that this is being released or being discussed in classified circles for possible public release. So this is what Representative Andrew Carson said. He declines to say whether he received a classified briefing regarding the James Webb Space Telescope. What does Congress know about the James Webb Space Telescope, and why does it appear to be classified? So this is a poster, UAP James, who points out the kind of unusual nature of a representative declining to comment on whether or not he's received a classified briefing on the James Webb Space Telescope. That does tend to support the rumors that John Brandenburg referred to, that there are classified briefings happening. Here is a development concerning the UAP Disclosure Act, which was adopted in 2023 for inclusion in the National Defense Authorization Act for 2024, and it was gutted, and only some elements were incorporated into that NDAA for 2024. Now, it was included in the Senate version for the 2025 National Defense Authorization Act, but according to Christopher Sharp, who writes for Liberation Times, he says that it failed to be included due to the opposition by Senator Rand Paul, who objected and used his position as ranking member on the Committee for Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs. And according to Christopher Sharp, Paul believes that the use of government money for UFO programs is a bad idea. I mean, that's very strange given the very constructive role Senator Paul has played on many other issues, that he would kind of like take that antiquated position that spending money on UFO investigations is a waste of time. Nevertheless, after news came out that the Disclosure Act was failed to be included, Senator Mike Rounds, who is one of the sponsors for the UAP Disclosure Act, he says that the fate of the act is still being negotiated. So apparently there's still some hope that it might make its way into the Senate version of the National Defense Authorization Act for 2025. Okay, so here's George Kavasilis, who shared a really fascinating update on the return of an enlightened group of US Navy admirals that set off in the 1980s in 3 craft from the Solar Warden program to explore the galaxy. And in the process, they were transformed by a positive group of extraterrestrials and are back to help humanity liberate itself from the deep state. So this is essentially these Navy admirals went out, got enlightened, and come back, and they're kind of like, according to George, they are like Jedi Knights. They and their ships and their crews have also been thoroughly enhanced, and that they are now back to help humanity free itself of the deep state. So that is very interesting, and George Kavasilis has described some of his own personal experiences with this group of admirals and the group of extraterrestrials they work with. He calls them the Universal Space Council. So this video is available on Patreon, YouTube, and Rumble. Well, actually, currently it's available only on Patreon. It's early release on Patreon, and on September 30, it will drop on YouTube and Rumble. So that's, if you do want to do the early access and subscribe to my Patreon feed, that is much appreciated. It really does support this channel. So thank you for those who have subscribed. So definitely watch it on Patreon if you can. Otherwise, you can wait and see it on YouTube next week. Okay, so here's a interview I did with Samuel Chung. And Samuel Chung, he did a translation of a book called 334 and 0/100 lies, which is a code for 666 lies. And he describes how a group that he called, or this is based on a book that was published in German that he translated. And in this book, it describes the activities of something that's called the Lodge, that Samuel Chung describes as the Illuminati. We might call it something else, black magicians that practice human sacrifice, but they have incredibly advanced psychic abilities, and that they have a knowledge of astrology which they use to read the future. And that enables them to manipulate humanity and get recruits or to get victims for their various ceremonies. So definitely it is a fascinating article or interview to watch. Samuel Chung is a very brave person for diving deep into this very dark subject matter and bringing light to it. He's actually going to be traveling to Germany to meet with the publishers of the German edition of this book to get more insights into it. So we wish him well on his travel and hope he returns safely to give us an update. Here is a story by the Scientific American, which put out a new article discussing the UFO problem, and it reached a really disturbing or short-sighted conclusion is probably the better way of describing it. This is what Scientific American believes when it comes to the UFO problem. It says, quote, "While our own view is that UFOs or UAP emphatically do not represent any truly anomalous physical phenomena such as an extraterrestrial presence, this nevertheless does not consign ufology to insignificance. We should explore its meaning rather than ceding it to sensationalists, advocates employing shoddy methodologies and pushing quasi-religious, otherworldly stories," end quote. So, I mean, that to me means that if you have direct first-hand experiences, or you have knowledge of extraterrestrials, as a whistleblower, for example, who are visiting using interstellar spacecraft, then your first-hand witness testimony falls into the sensationalist category, because ufology is all about studying this phenomenon rather than trying to justify or prove that we are being visited by extraterrestrials. So it seems that Scientific American has fallen into this trap of saying that they're not interested in reports of extraterrestrials. They're just interested in sightings of UFO craft that that could be being piloted by anything. They don't want to. They don't want to speculate on that. They're just more interested in hard scientific data proving that UFOs are real and that they have flight capacities that far exceed what humanity has. But if anyone talks about the pilots being extraterrestrials, then you're a sensationalist, quasi-religious purveyor of otherworldly stories. I mean, how incredibly short-sighted this position is. by Scientific American, and it would be ridiculous if there weren't so many people that believed that and continue to believe that. Anyone with first-hand testimony of extraterrestrials is a sensationalist or a quasi-religious advocate. Very, very sad that people still believe that, and that these major literary publications like Scientific American are pushing that kind of idea. So Representative Nancy Mace says that the next UFO hearing has been scheduled for November 13th in a subcommittee she co-chairs for the US Congress's House Oversight Committee. So she talks to Ask a Poll, who asked her what is coming up, and what she said was, quote, "I want whistleblowers to feel like they can come forward. I want people protected. Every American deserves the right to know how their tax dollars are being spent and what it's being spent on. And if it's no big deal, why hide it?" So at least members of Congress get it, that we really need to hear from whistleblowers, people with first-hand testimony, rather than hearing from alleged experts or people that are talking about or talking about scientific data concerning UFOs, that we really need to know what whistleblowers are saying. So this is very much in the contrary, or to the contrary, of what Scientific American was suggesting. So I do hope that Congress succeeds. I know that Admiral Tim Gallaudet is one of the individuals that will be speaking either before the House of Representatives or before a Senate hearing. The Senate is also having a meeting sometimes in November where they will have various individuals, probably experts like Tim Gallaudet, researchers, commenting on what is known about UAPs, UFOs, whereas the House of Representatives seems to be much more focused on whistleblowers. So good for them, good for Nancy Mace for advocating that. And of course, other members of the House Oversight Committee. So that's it for this Week in Review. It's a bit of a short review. That's because I'm here at this conference, the Galactic Spiritual Informers Connection, and I hope to interview some of the presenters here so that in future weeks we have some additional information to present. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
You have been listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Join or start a conversation in the comments. Take the time to explore the vast library of best-selling books, webinars, and podcasts by Dr. Salla. Visit exopoliticstoday.com.